program when they started, when law enforcement or academics were talking about community policing. So I remember those days and what we went through on the way to it. So I wanted to sort of get a sense of it, and I wanted to also go there with no expectations. I just wanted to just go there and observe the program, of course ask some questions, but I wanted to see what was written about it and all that. So what I did was I made copies of this because this was one of the things that was interesting, along with other information, and you all can do the same thing, go online and get it too. But this is something called, this is, you know, sometimes when they come up with these programs and information, they have the most frequently asked questions. And that's what this is. This is a frequently asked question thing that they produced and talked about it. Essentially, what happens is that the program itself is about police officers making the decision about diversion. And if you know, if you have any history of diversion programs, usually they take place in the courtroom.
What is diversion?
Well, diversion is, for them, you don't go to jail and you go somewhere else. You go to a program. And the best way for me to describe it is that, say in the drug court context, you get charged with a drug crime, you don't go to regular court, you go to drug court. So when you go to drug court, you get charged and everything and all of that, and then at the time of sentencing, the judge will say, I'm not going to sentence you to jail, I'm going to sentence you to a 6-month program. If you successfully complete the 6-month program, then all of the charges that you've been charged with will be dropped, will disappear. And because he's the judge, he can do that. This program is altogether different. The police officer, number one, makes the decision about the diversion. If you happen to get arrested, or no, well not arrested because they don't arrest you. If you happen to encounter a police officer on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you have cocaine, crack, or heroin, and maybe meth, then what will happen, paraphernalia or either, you don't have to have a large amount because they realize that some of these people get involved in drugs, use drugs, and then sell drugs to use drugs, all right? So what happens is that the officer says that when he encounters you, he said, well, do you want to go to jail or do you want to go to LEAD, Law Enforcement Assisted Program? So the person says, I want to go to LEAD. I want to go to LEAD. Now, so not only is it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's only in Belltown. The parameters of Belltown are very small. It's probably something like Adams Morgan, but it's not very big. So then at the moment that you say you want to go to LEAD, they call a group of case managers who work for an organization called REACH. And REACH is sort of like the George Avenue or the collaboratives in the city. They have the connections, even though they don't do the direct servicing, but they have the connections to do this, and they have case managers who work you, right? So immediately you get some kind of assessment that takes about an hour. And they want to know exactly what you need at that time that you have been diverted. So then if you need housing, if you need some assistance, if you want to go to a drug program, all of this stuff comes out within this hour. And then they get you settled into a place. They come back to you, say within a 30-day period of time, and then they do a much more involved, comprehensive evaluation of you, and then they begin to work with you on that program in terms of getting you to that place. And there's no time limit on it, folks, because the time limit is based on you getting over what it is that you have to do. Now, this is how I also see it. If we all understand drug addiction and alcoholic addiction, then you also have to understand that relapse is a part of recovery. Is that a given?
Absolutely right.
The question was asked, well, what's the recidivism rate for these people? So what is the recidivism rate for these people? I say that if relapse is a part of recovery, then additional contact with the criminal justice system is also part of recovery for them. Because you can't take a person who's been involved in drugs for 10, 12, 15 years and have sporadic contact with the criminal justice system and then put them in a program and think that they're not going to have some contact with the criminal justice system along the way. And they do. But if you're in the program, what happens is that there's a computer data system at the police department, not the courts or nowhere else, but in the police department, that if this person has another contact with the criminal justice system, a red flag comes up, the police reach out to the case manager. The case manager goes get the individual and then take them and whatnot, so they don't even get rearrested. There's also situations where, say a person who's been, say 10, 12 years involved, and before he got in the lead program, he may have had a warrant on file somewhere. Say it could have been child support, it could have been an old case where he didn't show up in court. If that pops up, if a police officer sees him and that pops up, or her, and that pops up, then they also take care of that, because an incarceration would throw their recovery off. So the prosecutors hold this and allow this person to go through this process in terms of getting to the place where they have a job, a place to live, if they need a family connection, if they need counseling, whatever they need. The idea is to get these people to that place. Now the other things that, and I had an epiphany, because this happened to me doing community policing. Not me, but I watched some of my colleagues have it. The guy said that when the group of people that came together to make this happen talked about what are the protocols for how people would enter the program. What do you have to enter the program? There were 5 protocols they talked about. So to test these protocols, they wanted to test them on the police officers who would work in that area. And they also said that they didn't want the community policing oriented police officers. They wanted the police officers who worked in that area and who had been working in that area for some time and knew these people, but knew them through a criminal context. Now, hold that in your head, because that's important. They knew them through a criminal context. See, police officers don't know people through a relationship context. They know them through criminal context, because that's their relationship with them. Yeah, it's not because they go around slapping each other on the back. It's because I know he steals, I know he drives stolen cars. That's how they know people. They didn't want the community-oriented police officers. They wanted the people who worked in that area. And so there were 3 units that worked in that area, 2 bicycle units and 1 anti-crime unit. And their job was doing exactly what they had been doing all of this time, and that was locking up people for these low-level misdemeanor kind of crimes for drugs. And Washington don't have any issues with marijuana because they have a real progressive marijuana law, but you can get, from a multiple arrests, you can end up getting, say, 2, 3, 4 arrests. You could be up into 24, 36 months in jail for just having maybe no more than a nickel or 2 nickel bags of crack. But the number of arrests, the times of arrest will cause you to get there. So they wanted the police officers to have a buy-in. So they came up with this idea to have a focus group with the police officers who were going to work that area. Because they was going to use the 2 bicycle units and the anti-crime unit that covered that area already. So they had the focus group, the officers, they threw out the 5 protocols. Of the 5 protocols, 3 of the protocols, the officers said wasn't going to work. So they adopted the 3, threw away the 3, now they got the 5 protocols. The officers said to them at the end of the focus group, this is the first time in over 20 years that we've been doing police work that somebody has ever asked us to contribute to something that we were involved in. So what happened? It was transformational. I watched them same kind of transformations take place when they took police officers from the street even in this city, and then put them into a community policing program where you build relationships. Because police officers know when, excuse the expression, when shit don't work and when it does. And they knew that that was their buy-in. Those were the officers. The other transformational component to this thing is that all of these people, which is on this list, this information that I just sit around on the back page, that shows you who all of the groups are who are involved in this. They have a every 2-week operational meeting. And in the beginning, these people, they didn't like each other. They never have liked each other. And in this city, you can take them same groups of people and put them in a room, and they don't like each other because they don't work. They work in all together different directions. But sitting in this meeting, well, this was the second meeting, but we were privy to a meeting with the case managers. And the case managers talked about their cases, the people that they work with, how they work with their people, the ups and downs, how they go about doing it, what the stick and carrots that they use in the process of providing these services to people, when they fall up or when they fall down. But they're there to help them and get them through this process. And so they shared with us very realistically and honestly about that process. Ron asked a real a good question. He asked them, Dango, what kind of training do these people have? And the lady's her response, I expected her response. One of them was a formerly incarcerated person who was also doing drugs. And then those other people that was there, that they didn't have no special training around. They were just people who had a heart for doing that kind of work. And we're just fortunate that those kind of people gravitate toward these kind of organizations to do the work. But they do provide the space and place for them to do it, because that's important inside the institution itself. And then when the institution reaches the one that I'm talking about. The other meeting that we were privy to that was really good was that this meeting where all of these people sit around this big square table, must have been 50 people in the room. There were prosecutors, there were state and county prosecutors, city and county prosecutors, there were ACLU people, there were public defenders, there were social workers, there were case managers, and there were the police officers who work on the street with these people. And I'm telling you, if you closed your eyes in the room, which I did a couple of times, you could not tell the police officers from the social workers. You could not tell the police officers from the social workers, because they were saying things like, and when we heard, there were people, when we heard the other people talk about it, and then the case managers talk about how that takes place, I know that there was some skepticism in the room. Although I didn't have any, because I didn't go there expecting anything. But the fact of the matter is that when the police officer said, hey, talking to the case manager, I saw Paul on the corner the other day. He was looking good. He had himself together. How is he doing? Now, I mean, this was a genuine, caring conversation. This wasn't about no punk conversation.
I'm telling you.
This is what the social, and then the case manager responded, said, yeah, he is doing good. We got him in a place. He's got himself together. He got the job. He's doing well. He's had a few issues, but and the police officer came back and made another comment about him seeing him there and being able to. He had been gone for a while, but something. And this wasn't one police officer. This was all of the police officers in the room were talking about it and looking at these people, not from a police officer criminal context, but from a human being context, that these were individuals who needed a hand, and they were part of the process to deliver these people. And how long does it take? As long as they need. That's how long it takes. As long as they need, then that's what they was doing. It was just, you know, each and every one of them, everybody we talked to, other than the people who, some of the people who were involved in this, Lisa Dugard, Chris, some of the other people, but the prosecutor we talked to who oversees this program, his whole thing was about locking up people. And he enjoyed it too, because you could tell the expression on his face when he was talking about locking people. That's what he enjoyed. Now he enjoyed this because he realized that locking up people didn't work. It did not do what it was that they needed to do in their whole thing. Now they were forced into this because there were a couple of actions that really took place. One of them was a study that the University of Washington did, this thing named Julie Becker did, disproportionality.
Racial disparities.
Yeah, racial disparity and whatnot. But that never got tried in a court because it was part of the hammer that was used to sort of get them to a place where they have a conversation. The other action, the people's lawyer, is that they were able to take all of the cases that were coming from the arrest and group them together in front of judges and prosecutors so that people could see, so that these people could see that these people were all black in a city where black folk only, almost 80% of the arrests, in a city where black folk make up less than 7%.
That's right.
And so what they was doing was jamming the system so that they would create a picture for the prosecutor and the judges in them so that they would see who was getting this and who wasn't. Now the typical response from the police chief, which is always the same, because our police chief did the same thing after the lawyers committee response. Well, all we do is go to where, we just go to where they call us and then do it. Just say, we ain't trying to lock up black people. Now white people selling drugs all over the world, but they ain't getting locked up and nobody paying attention to them. But so they did not. They just never got along. And this one lady did ask a question, and it was really a good question. Well, she made a statement. She said, well, the police and prosecutors don't talk. But see, from a citizen perspective, you would think that. You may think that the police and prosecutors don't talk. But the police and prosecutors do talk. Because prosecutors don't prosecute cases without police involvement. But they only talk about people who are criminals. They don't talk about them in the context that they're people who need services, and our job is to provide services to them. And that's what's taking place up there. When you see the people in that room, I mean, it's just unbelievable. But I've seen that before, though. Mm-hmm. I've seen that before. And so I guess, like Courtney and I, we had a brief conversation last night because the question on your mind should be, well, or it may be on your mind, is DC a place for the potential of that?
Yeah, I was thinking replication. Yeah.
Well, that's where I come in because
Okay.
because I believe DC is perfect, you know, and Pittsburgh for that matter, because it's you know it was the uniqueness about the program really is relational, you know, and in connectivity and a continuing care, you know, the continuing care. So, and you know, they knew these people. They in a small area, you know, and it's unique because it's almost like it's a concentrated area, you know, and you know these people are in this area and they're going to be in this area. The police are in this area; they're going to be in this area, and the continuing care goes on, you know, and so everybody is talking to everybody, you know, and the uniqueness of it is that the person actually, you know, that term, you meet the person where they at. They you know, you can say that they meet the person where they at, but they also give them an opportunity, like, you know, you want to go to jail or you want to go home, you know, to the LEAD program, you know, and the diversion is, to me, the reason why DC is a really good place for it, you know, because we have a prosecutor in DC that loves to prosecute, okay? And I know it because I heard him say it out of his mouth, okay? He loves to prosecute. The uniqueness about this, you know, the chief of police was involved with this. People in the community was involved with this. You know, the business people, the community can be involved in this. You know, and we talking about recidivism. We talking about you know, because Ron didn't mention a lot of these people got diverted to other parts of the suburban parts of Seattle, you know, where they went and got them housing, where they went and got them involved in a program, you know, that they wanted of their choice. You know, this is what they said. Okay, well, I need clothes, or I need a place to stay, or you know, I have a dream of you know, working in this particular field. So you know, so training was you know, was a part, you know, and so it's and that's, to me, that's something, you know. And I was talking to Ron about this last night. If you take, you know, you could take Martin Luther King Avenue, for instance, in Ward 8, you know, right across the street from St. Elizabeth Hospital.
I was just there.
You know,
Because we know where they
a
are.
nice 4-block concentrated area, you know, where everybody knows everybody. The police know the people that are going to be out there on that block. The people on that block know the police. The thing I liked about the diversion program was very interesting, how the prosecuting attorney could hold up prosecuting you, you know, based on you know, your involvement with the criminal justice system. He could hold up prosecuting you and allow you to go ahead and be diverted to the lead program.
Yeah, what they're saying is that at the arrest, not the arrest, but at the contact state, right? When the officer asks them, do you want to go to Leeds or do you want to go to jail?
Right.
They take that paperwork that would normally go to court, and it goes to a prosecutor's office, and it sits in a basket. It goes to the prosecutor who's in charge of this program, and it sits in this basket. It doesn't go anywhere, and anything else that happens goes in that basket. The unique thing too about all of this is that all of these people who are on this sit around the table did not ask to give up anything. So the prosecutor can still prosecute, the police can still arrest, the social workers can still do their work. Nobody was asked to give up nothing. But what they were asked to do is to take the LEAD program and to do the LEAD program, because the LEAD program was about helping people and reducing the problem that existed in Belltown that was generated and demonstrated in the study, as well as what we've seen in other areas, and that was a disproportionality around the race and the services. Plus, the people knew that these people needed services in order to survive.
Let me add just two other quick things before we sort of round out the discussion. The two other, I think, critical points. One, or maybe three. One or two, actually. One is that from the point of view of the case managers, what was different was that the Open Society Foundation and Ford Foundation provided a grant of X numbers of dollars that they had at their disposal, right? Now, what that meant was, previously, all they could do was counsel them and talk to them and whatever, but now they had the resources to get that house, to get that drug, that they could actually pay for those services, right? Now, that's important because the question is, would OSF provide a seed grant for that to happen here, or is there a local foundation that would do that, or whatever? Because without that, that's a problem, right? The second thing that's important is that I think at the end of the day, it's a cost-benefits ratio too, because even though some of these people would have been arrested, and whether they are calculating, and they said this at one point, the budget cuts got to the point that they end up taking some of these things that were felonies. They were reducing them to misdemeanor because they had nowhere to put them.
Right.
And also because at the end of the day, the cost of putting people in jail and maintaining them for, if they went to jail for 3 years, let's say, at the cost of $30,000 a year, is like, maybe that's $90,000. Well, maybe they put $30,000. So at the end of the day, they actually end up saving. So that's a side of it too that has to be demonstrated, but I think that's one of the other things. Now what happened was the city of Seattle, therefore, now has put in $900,000 into the program. They put in some money into the program because they now see it working, and I think the expectation is, as there's a proof of the validity of the concept, then this will be, they will invest in it because it makes sense for them to invest in it. And then they're now expanding it now. They're now moving out of the Belltown area. They're adding some other districts to it, gradually, as well. So I wanted to make those points because the issue of whether or not, even if you presented this. Let me just reinforce something just quickly. The idea of going into a room and saying the prosecutors, the police, the case managers, and the community advocates sit at the same table, and in some instances, the reports weren't that good. Well, so-and-so is using it again. And the police didn't say, well, arrest him, throw him in jail. I said, well, what we're going to do? Well, I'm going to call him in, and I'm going to work with him, and I'm going to see him tomorrow. It was an amazing conversation. I mean, to hear this kind of transformational kinds of conversation about, and then the officers, that's what was so amazing, is the officers themselves had bought in. They had been transformed by looking at this thing in entirely different, and they seem to appreciate their work now better. Because they were doing something that they thought was constructive and meaningful, other than just having to lock people up. Ross, anything quick from you too? Because you would.
Oh no, I was gonna add the piece about the funding with the case managers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and Kichi. Oh, hold on a minute.
Yeah. As you know, that's Andy's baby. He used to work at